I guess the moment has arrived. I am shocked to death that Nerd City's doing this, but let's get his side. That's only fair. Ladies and gentlemen, the very famous Nerd City. How are you, sir?
Can you two fucking kiss and make up already?
We're not fighting. I disagree with him. We're not fighting. He's not a bad person. I think he's ridiculous. That's all.
Well, I hope we're not fighting, Tommy.
No.
I consider us friends.
I consider you a friend. I just think you're insane.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Okay. And I hope we don't end up screaming over top of each other.
I don't see that being a problem. I don't see that.
We are talking about like legalese and shit like that is over both of our heads in a way. And like I know because we're parsing this language very carefully that like, you know, when we start getting mad, then we're not going to be precise and then we'll say stupid
I'm not
shit,
mad at you.
know?
I've made that abundantly clear from the beginning of the show. I'm not mildly mad at you. I've kept the same demeanor pretty much the whole show. I don't think you have to worry about that.
Okay, so there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. One is, you know, you've said on one hand, I think it's ridiculous to blame Nerd City for bringing about these regulations. But then, you know, as it goes on in these live chats, you'll start to shorthand that to Nerd City's bringing about COPPA. You know, you're bringing up, you're perpetuating this rumor.
Well, actually, what I said was he didn't build the house; he just laid the welcome mat. That was my exact words.
Yeah,
Isn't that kind of hyperbole though for a comedy show?
I get that.
All right.
But we do keep coming back to that. All right. So as far as the Ray-lej thing, you said two things that I don't think quite line up. You said that number one, your daughter is a Ray-lej Pons fan now and has begun watching her content.
Yes.
But then you also say that you're not aware of the things that she's been doing in the
No,
content.
that's not what I said at all.
That's part of what the video.
That's not what I said at all. I said I hadn't seen the content that you displayed. Everything I've watched it with her.
Doesn't it serve a purpose then? Because it just made you aware of it.
Yes, but I don't need that, and I know I really don't need it if it's going to bring regulations to YouTube, which is actually more of a detriment to me than my daughter seeing Ray-lej Pons half naked.
Well, you know, now we're getting into parenting decisions, and those are up to you. But what that sounds like is basically like you just haven't seen her watching it yet, and when you do see that, you'll intervene.
Yes,
but she could be watching that without you having been aware of that.
She could be looking at porn right now for all I fucking know. I mean, that's a part of being a parent.
Cool with that, though.
No, I'm not cool with her looking at porn. I know it's a part of fucking life. I know she'll probably smoke a joint one day. I know that she'll probably do something on this, and I think the time is. I don't believe in. She's got to show me that she's not trustworthy. I believe, as a parent, this is my way of doing it. It's not everybody's way of doing that. As putting the gates as far out as humanly possible and only bring them in when they're necessary. She has not showed me that I have to do that. And I don't do this shit preemptively. And I'm not one of these 700 Club Christian wackos that worry about things like that. She's probably going to smoke a joint. She's probably going to do lie. She's probably going to sleep at somebody dead. So I deal with it now. I don't panic if I see, and I have seen her watch things that is just unacceptable, and I deal with it then. I don't need the government. That's just me.
I think that's a fair approach, and but some parents aren't like that, right?
Yeah, I know. They're idiots.
They would want.
They're mad people that make the world worse for everybody else.
Common ground has been found, boys.
part of the problem with Jake Paul and Ray-lej Pons content is that they put out so much of it that it's overwhelming, you know, and it's also very difficult to listen to because it's very loud and annoying, and a parent might go like, oh, all right, this is for kids, and they leave the room, trusting YouTube and Google to have correctly identified this as kids content.
No, I don't trust YouTube. That's great because I don't trust YouTube and Google for anything. I don't let other people raise my fucking kids. I watched this with The Little Mermaid when it came out in VHS in 1989, and they just put the goddamn thing on and let it spin over and over again. They don't pay any attention. I don't have that problem. I'm involved. And I don't look at Google and say, oh my God, you played something for my kid, it's your fault. No, it's mine. It's my fault. You know, so I got to be honest with you. I can't get by. Look, this is the disagreement we have. And like my criticisms of you have nothing to do with what you pointed out from Ray-lej Pons. I just telling you, I don't need it. And I don't think other people need it as much as you think.
I don't think that the television or YouTube should be a babysitter, but the fact is, it is serving as a babysitter.
Then you're contradicting yourself right there. Then they're a babysitter. The babysitter or not a babysitter. And no, they're not for me. And I got to be honest with you. I think you're slacking in a parental apartment.
I don't think that's a hypocrisy. It's like
you're not a babysitter, but they're a babysitter.
You allow
that sentence is apocryphal.
You're yelling and interrupting me. I'm having trouble finishing a sentence, Tommy.
Fair enough.
So if you are allowing your child to use YouTube as a babysitter, you should be aware that some of this content is probably going farther than you would expect. Okay, that's the point of my video. Okay. All right, I'd like to move on to the other thing.
Okay.
So as far as me being anti-regulation but also pro, let's call it the spirit of the regulation, I don't think that's
kind of like the babysitter
to understand.
Okay, go ahead.
What?
Well, it's a babysitter, but it's not a babysitter. It's anti-regulation, but the regular.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, you know.
Positions, Tommy.
Yeah.
Like, these are nuanced positions. Okay, so like, let's say you're a person who doesn't believe in concealed carry of guns or knives.
Sure,
okay?
I think I know where you're going with this.
You don't want people with knives and guns in their pockets that aren't registered, and you can't see that they're there. You think that sucks, right? Mm-hmm. But you also don't want a policy where we all get stopped and frisked on the corner.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's if that is true, you have not articulated it very well. You've basically said that you don't want these type.
Man, I do try to articulate these positions where I can. Like, if I'm not as clear, like, all right.
Yeah, but you said it was nuanced, but there doesn't seem to be much nuance to it on the surface, because you look at it and it's like you could look at one podcast you did, and that was that you did that podcast the night that you argued with Nick, and it's another thing is it's a little tough. You know, I'm not going to drop your DMs or anything, but, you know, because of the conversations that we've had, I think you are pro-regulation. And by the way, you could be pro-regulation, but I'll be damned if somebody's going to call here and ask me if I think, well, Nerd City. No, he certainly is. And I think
that's why I'm wondering if there's a recollection problem. Because when I showed you the Jake Paul video a couple days ahead of time, we both agreed, like, fuck, wouldn't this suck if this meant we couldn't sell merch? We don't want that kind of regulation. Does this cause that?
I remember we did have that conversation, and I was more like, "Are you sure?" And you were like, "Yeah, I'm sure." I was like, "Okay." I wasn't going to tell you not to put out the video.
Like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm like, okay,
you said you thought about it. I remember what you said. You said, "I thought about it. Yes, that crossed my mind, but I think this is more important." I think that was your exact sentence, if I remember correctly.
Well, that doesn't jibe with how I feel about it, which is like, no, I don't think taking Jake Paul down would mean is worth us not being able to sell merch.
Why are you taking people down, nerd?
Why am I taking people down?
Yeah, it sounds like.
Now you're talking about basically the premise of your own show.
I don't tell people to unsub. I don't think people should go away.
You've bragged about taking down group chats, about like trying to take down Keemstar, about, you know, it's
people making a living. I took down a group chat. I took down I took down a group chat that was working with lawyers and a well-known hacker to put a pedophile rap on them. That's a lot different than Jake Paul shouldn't be able to make content on the platform, don't you think? It's a different stratosphere.
The point is to criticize and hold accountable people who are doing scumbag things and laugh about it. And that's what I do. So it's like,
I don't know. I think it's a little. I think that's what I do. I think you don't want them on the internet. I think that's the difference between me and you.
No, I see. I'm not trying to deplatform Ray-lej Pons or Jake Paul. The videos always stop short of saying anything like that. Even with Daddy of Five and Tasha Mama.
You went through a list of laws that would put her in court and paying fines for the next 10 years.
No, that's not what that is. So that list is the FTC clarifying these. So that's their best attempt to identify what children's content is. There's no violations in that list. It's just that if Ray-lej is doing any of those things, she should consider her content children's content, and she's doing 100% of them. So what I'm saying is that Ray-lej,
and if she does 100% of them,
hang on one second.
Then what happens to her? Then what happens to her if she continues to do this?
So what happens to her is she ticks the box that says, yes, this content is aimed at children, and that means that her ads turn off and her comment section shuts off, which is a shitty fucking implementation of COPPA. I hate that, but Ray-lej needs to follow the rules just like us, and she's not labeling her content.
How could you hate COPPA and then be so like? How do you hate COPPA and are so, like when I hate something and a rule comes down and somebody breaks that rule, I'm just like, yeah. You're like, I hate this rule. You better follow it.
No. I don't hate COPPA. I don't hate COPPA. I hate the implementation so far on YouTube.
But it was guaranteed to happen.
I like the spirit of the law of protecting children from.
It was guaranteed to happen.
I totally support protecting children from exploited.
I'm telling you right now. You can't have it both. I don't think you can have it both ways.
I can, and I think I'm.
No. You can have it both ways. The history of government regulation says otherwise.
I know, which is why, like, at the very best, at the most hopeful, where we fucking pray that this has the effect, a commentary video can change the behavior of a bad actor on the system.
You sound like a communist that's saying it's going to work this time. I got to be honest.
No, it's self-regulation, man.
It does. It sounds like a no Scotsman fallacy. No true Scotsman fallacy. It's just like, oh, they'll get it right. No, they won't. They'll never get it right.
I'm talking about, I made a YouTube video on YouTube about YouTube content.
Yeah.
I didn't make a petition and send it to Congress. I didn't petition the White House. I didn't call the cops.
You went to the report. You went to the media. You went to the media
about YouTube shit.
You went to the media.
Self-regulation.
You went to the media. That's
I'm
not
okay with self-regulation. Are you okay with self-regulation?
What? Yeah, in some senses, yes. Depends on the situation. It's a little more nuanced than that. Yeah, sure. I like the fact that
doesn't commentary sometimes call.
But you know what self-regulation is? You know what self-regulation is? It's hate mobs. That's what self-regulation is, and everybody's against hate mobs. So,
I'm certainly not trying to start a hate mob.
No, I don't think you're trying to do that. But that's probably the second most effective thing. That's self-regulation. Essentially, what we call hate mobs.
Don't paint me as cancel culture.
No, I'm not at all. You're going right to the government. You're going right. You're not manipulating anybody.
No, I'm not going right to the government. See, I just said I haven't gone to the government at all. You keep saying that I did.
I think by going to the news media, you're going to the government. It's just that
by talking with journalists.
Yes.
So that's a completely separate thing. So
yes.
Journalism is continuing to attack YouTube and try to damage it because we're competing for the same.
And you gave them a weapon, and you handed them a nuclear weapon.
Begrudgingly, I talked to journalists.
Begrudgingly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you did it begrudgingly. You did it. You just admitted it.
We should be talking to journalists.
Oh, fuck that. Are you crazy? You don't think they're a bunch of agenda-driven whores? You're out of your mind. Oh, that's why I think you're crazy.
That's not a golden rule, Tommy, that we shouldn't talk to journalists. What that is a result of them being unfair to PewDiePie. So now nobody talks to journalists. And that means that they'll continue to attack us without getting our side of the story.
Nah, that's your appeasement.
If we talk to them,
this is appeasement.
Give them our side of the story.
This is an argument of appeasement. We fundamentally disagreed. I don't think it should be talked to. I honestly think things have gotten a lot better for Donald Trump since he stopped doing a daily press briefing. No, they're the enemies. They have an agenda. They literally, you're like, here's my nuclear. I'm giving you a nuclear weapon so you don't drop a nuclear weapon on where I live. That's what happened.
The other thing is, I don't think that regulators and politicians are reading YouTube culture articles.
But they don't care. They care about power. You are putting way too much trust in the news media and politicians. They don't care. They're going to rig the laws to the way they see fit.
There's another problem here, and it's communication between YouTube and YouTubers. We don't have a way to contact YouTube and be like, hey, this is a problem with my channel, with someone else's channel, with whatever, and get a real response. Like, you know what I'm talking about. We don't have an open line of communication. Unless you're the largest creator, you have no way to talk to YouTube.
Sure.
So unfortunately, because there's so many boomers in YouTube, all they pay attention to is the press. Even though these articles are getting less hits, less views than a fucking H3H3 video, they don't watch the H3 video. They read an article in Polygon. So it's like the only way you can talk to them sometimes is by talking to a journalist. Then all of a sudden you get a response. That's not ideal. That sucks. But I'm just dealing with the situation as it is.
I got a question.
I got to be honest with you. I like this comparison. You're not going to like this, nerd, but Nerd City is Neville Chamberlain and Tommy's Winston Churchill. That's the way I feel about this situation. Neville Chamberlain was a great Englishman. He meant the best, and he pretty much is responsible for enticing the Nazis to bomb their country.
Like,
I want to stand up to
everything
them.
in black and white. You're like.
So did Chamberlain.
You're anti-stabbing and you're also anti-stop and frisk. How can those two things be possible? It's like because there's nuance to that. Because you don't think the implementation of the rule of stop and frisk is appropriate.
I don't
think
it is.
stabbing.
No, I think there is nuance. We've already agreed to this. There's nuance to it. I just don't. I think in this particular situation, you are dead wrong working with these people and inviting them in, and you will continue to get the results that you don't like. And you're going to say it's not my fault, but I just keep making these videos. That's inviting. Do you realize how powerful you are?
Congressman,
do you realize how powerful you are? Do you realize how powerful you are? I don't know if you do because you are a humble person. Do you have any idea?
There's no evidence that the regulators So look, if the FTC, I hope this doesn't happen. If the FTC is to say, we saw this Nerd City video and that's why we're cracking down on the X, Y, and Z channel, then holy shit, now Jake or Ray-lej or whatever can blame me for their fine for causing it or for ratting them out. But so far, I mean, we're talking about a complaint that happened in New York about a toy channel and about tracking of children. There's been no mention of me.
Ray-lej is not who you have to worry about. It Logan Paul, but you don't got to worry about them. You don't got to worry about Bobax or Augie or Tommy C. You have to worry about some ordinary gamer.
That's a lot
and
of money,
critical.
I guess. For
That's
a person of color.
your problem, because if they see it one day, that's where you're going to have the serious problem, not the low-level drama guys. And,
and
they're going to do a lot better job than me.
Like,
they're going to do a lot better job than me. And you might even see a clip of this video in there.
And if that happens, what I would say at that point is like, you brought this on yourself by what you were doing. You know, you're blaming the messenger at that point. Because I didn't actually send
who's
this
going
to
to
the
buy
FTC.
that if they're not doing it? No one's going to buy that if they weren't doing it. Yet now they're being affected by something because
that's a lot of money.
The government can continue to take more and more
Then at
power.
that point-
What they're going to say
someone-
was you were wrong. You were wrong by saying you can have nuance and regulation, and you got to own up to that. That's what they're going to say. They're not going to sit there and your defense. Your defense is like that is literally what, dude. It's hold on a second. Your defense is the like Donald Trump shot the plane down in Iran.
No, that's not what I'm. If someone is affected by the implementation of this who is not breaking the law, then they should be pointing their fingers at the person who brought that attention to them by violating the fucking existing law, not the person who was like, yo, stop doing this. It's against the law.
If they look at things like I do, nobody looks at that. No one looks at things like that. They think most people see things in black and white. If they start saying to themselves like I am right now, if I could have lived with Jake Paul, then no, you're getting the blame.
Well,
I mean, this is a
like. I don't think it's fair to say, but what you
it
are
might not
doing
be fair at all.
Defending what Ray-lej's doing.
I don't care. No. I'm not defending it all. I don't care. I think it's that big a deal. You think it's a big deal. I don't. That's why you have the robe and the collar, and I don't in the picture. You think it's I don't think it's that big a deal because I can control my kids' watch.
Part of that is what it comes down to.
And I don't accept that your TV. I don't accept that the TV.
Whatever. Like let the kids fucking smoke and have.
That's
sex
not what I
whatever,
said. You're completely misrepresenting what I said. I said I do parenting, and I can't be responsible for some other fucking kid. I'm taking care of my own shit. I don't need you. I don't need your ideas. I don't need your parenting. I don't need the fucking government. I can do it myself. I really can. I could have watched.
You weren't a target audience for that Ray-lej video.
No, but my daughter is, and I saw, and I didn't see any of the stuff that you're talking about that she was watching. And it's awful.
No, then you weren't the target audience for my Ray-lej video. If you didn't need that to know that that's what Ray-lej's doing,
yeah, but I know what you bring. Yeah, okay. Thanks for alerting the idiots. Thanks for alerting the reactionaries. And all the good they're going to do from here on out. No, this is never going to end bad.
So you're shooting the messenger here.
I'm not shooting the messenger.
To another point
shooting you at all. I'm disagreeing with you. I think this is a terrible mistake for the platform, but I do believe that you were totally sincere and you think this is best for the platform. But you know what? That's not what this stream was about. The stream was about you want your cake and eat it too. It is not about Ray-lej Pons. And I mentioned that at the top of the thing when I brought up your thing that you keep up. We barely brought up Ray-lej Pons yesterday, Dave and I did. This is not about Ray-lej. This is about.
Oh, you've been taking shots at me all week.
Well, first of all, no, I took shots at you yesterday. I haven't been doing anything all week. I took a shot at you last week. But those are goofs, man. If you can't take a goof, that's your problem.
No, I'm taking goofs, but you're referencing it. You know, like you're building up to having this conversation.
So what? Well, I wish you would. You've turned me down for 700 interviews. I would have loved to have this conversation before.
I have not.
Yes, you have. You're always so fucking busy. What are you talking about? You didn't ever want to come here and talk.
I was telling you.
The only way I got you on last year. The only way I have ever gotten you on the show on these two circumstances. And by the way, you have every right not to be on the show. When people were criticizing your content, I offered you an interview. And I could go through my DMs and find them well before you put out the Jake Paul video, and you said you couldn't do it.
I think you just said something like, "Why haven't you been on the show?" And I was like, "I'm waiting for maximum impact." I think I said something like that. And what I
think you did say something. You did.
But here's what I said to Dave yesterday. I said, "Isn't it kind of a shame that like all Tommy would have had to do is been like, hey nerd, I saw your video yesterday. I thought it was really funny. Like, do you want to come on the show and talk about it?" And I would have said sure. And then I would have.
I think the day that you came on my show,
I would have been on the show. But instead, you left me in the audience. Like, you left me sitting on the.
Wait a minute. I'd asked you prior to that. And I think the day, if I'm not remembering, say back in September or October of 2018, I asked you to be on the show, and you said no. And as the show went on, you became more and more irritated, and then came on. So it's not my fault.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true at all.
I think the chats are saved.
By the entire thing. So like we had talked about, here's how the timeline unfolded. Oh, Jesus Christ. So I showed you this Jake Paul video a couple of days ahead of time, and we talked about the potential for regulation, whether I should make adjustments to it. And then I go live with it like the next day or something.
I think it was a couple hours.
Almost immediately after that, Nick drops a video that's very fucking inflammatory. It calls me Dr. Douchebag. It says, "You fucked up." It's like, here's what Nerd City got wrong. And you go live with that, play that video, and start yelling at me.
No, I didn't yell at you at all at that video. Now you're really off because I'll tell you. But I was shocked. No. And there's plenty. There's the famous clip to prove it. I was trying to play neutral when you were going to argue with Verst, and you were the one that told him to shut up. So it was. If you go back to that, I was trying to balance both ends. And I did not at any time. I did not take Nick's side 100% on that.
Misleading, and you had created this graphic that said Nerd City versus Nick, which I think has never.
We've already discussed this.
That got burned into his brain, and it's never fucking melted away.
No, from you. Nobody else cared that much. You did. That's you being sensitive. Nobody went out. Nobody's out to get you. Look. I know you have this. I know you have this because you said this to me privately that I'm like some kind of fucking puppet master. But I got to be honest with you. It's just criticism. It's not a conspiracy, Nerd City.
What I said is that there are people who are downstream of your opinion, and I would include Nick and Bo Blacks and Augie as people who are influenced by the things that you say. So that's why I try to straighten out some things with you, because they get repeated by those guys.
No, you think that I'm going to go – you think I can tell them what to think. Believe me, I can't. So start giving all those people their agency. Give them their agency, except Bo Blacks, because he's a retard. I don't tell other people what to fucking do.
Oh,
Blacks,
come on.
You're not a retard.
How dare you, Tommy?
Bo Blacks, you're not a retard.
Yes, he's a retard. You ever spend any time with him?
Nerd City just fucking bounced the ball back. You're not a retard, sir. Stop it.
Okay, something else I want to talk about is I think this is I don't understand why you guys don't see the contradiction here. You'll say it's absolutely ridiculous to think that Jake Paul or Lele Pons would see these videos and then respond to the criticism and self-regulate, right? You know, like
yes.
But you also say that look how many views you get, look how influential you are, and definitely regulators will.
I'm talking about I'm talking about you swaying the public. You're not going to sway a YouTuber. They don't think they think in the grand scheme of things, they're YouTube royalty. You're a dot. In that world, to me, you're big. To them, you're nothing.
I think trying to sway politicians and regulators who don't give a fuck about YouTube versus trying to get someone who doesn't want to get heat on YouTube with a YouTube video by another YouTube video, like that's so much easier to get a YouTuber's attention than to get the regulator's attention. And that's why the call to action is not, hey, call the FTC.
I can't even. I can't believe you're standing by that.
It's always like, YouTube, why is this on trending page? Like, delete this video, so and so. You know, like it's not come and save us, cops.
Hey, Nerd City, has there been, out of curiosity, this should be a fair question, I think. Has there been, to your knowledge, any kind of results from those videos as far as what you're saying right now?
Well, now I have to say something publicly that I don't really want to. I mean,
don't.
No, do it. Shut the fuck up, Vega. What's the matter with you?
Fucking Tommy.
You know,
go ahead.
Yes.
As far as some of the videos we've put up, I know that the right people have seen them, and I don't mean regulators. I mean people within YouTube, and I mean the YouTubers themselves. And adjustments have been made. Hey, man. Take a look at Jake Paul content and see if it's 50% ads now. If it's 50% merch ads now, then maybe I'm wrong, but it's not. And if regulators were to go looking at that now, being like, COPPA. Hot damn, we got someone who's making 50% ads. We're going to bust this dude. I think they would find about 15 to 20% advertisements, and they'd be like, all right, well, that's in line with, acceptable standards in society, and I guess we're going to move on. He's not doing that anymore.
Oh, okay.
Hooray.
Well, I would say that's good news. I don't give a fuck.
Well, me too, dude.
Yippee fucking
yeah.
yeah.
I didn't want to see. As much as fucking fuck Jake Paul forever.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Jake Paul getting a fucking record fine or like getting hauled before Congress or getting arrested. Like that makes YouTube look like shit. Like let's fix this on our own fucking.
Yeah, but
terms.
you say that and you have that checklist in the video. I mean, it feels like you're. I'm sorry. This is more of you've really confirmed my feelings about you in this situation. It seems like you want it both ways. Yeah,
I'm for,
and then you're going to lean on nuance when you're questioning on it.
For the spirit of the law, dude. I'll admit that right now. Like that. So, do you think that's hypocritical to be for the spirit of the law?
I think it's incredibly naive. I think it's incredibly naive. If you're being honest with me right now, and I've gone on record and said you have never been dishonest with me offline. All right, you are exceptionally naive. Exceptionally naive. It almost makes me think that it makes me think that, naive. Let me ask you something. Here's my read on the situation. Did you go to private schools? Did you go to private schools? Did you go to private schools?
I'm not talking about my
did you go? Look, this is not an insult. You grew up with my look. Here's what happened. Here's what I'm calling. I'm going to call this right now because he's not going to answer me, and that's fair enough, right? I think Nerd City went to private schools. I think Nerd City was at the top of his class. I think Nerd City has been treated extremely well and has got around with this attitude of.
Here you go.
Yes,
Don't call me an elitist. Tommy,
no. I'm not calling you elitist. You are incredibly and exceptionally naive. You haven't been around enough horrible people. That's what I'm saying.
I am fucking.
And that's why you're going to journalists, and that is why you trust journalists and politicians, because you are exceptionally naive. Exceptionally, and there's not a bad bone in your body. All right, you've been incredibly generous to me with your time, with help for me. Let me make that abundantly clear with everybody. But I think you are exceptionally naive if you're telling me the truth right now.
Well, where you see naive, I see optimism. Okay, like I'm hoping that YouTube becomes the reinvention of the printing press, and that self-publishing becomes as important as I think it is. Okay, and I think that people like Lele Pons and Jake Paul are fucking that up for everybody. So that's part of what these videos are meant to indicate. And there's chance for YouTube and for them to make adjustments to their behavior before it becomes a legal issue, before there's a plaintiff. And my call to actions, if I meant for people to call the FTC, I know how to fucking make a call to action. I would say call the FTC. I'd put the number on screen. I didn't do that once. I don't want people doing that.
Yeah, I just think you're naive. I think you're just asking for. You're going to these people thinking they have the best of intentions, and I think that's not that doesn't make you a bad person. That actually makes you quite a good person because you want all these wonderful things for it. It just does. The world doesn't work that way, and you're gonna find out. You're gonna find out. And
you think you? Well, I guess we disagree about the likelihood of congressmen watching my videos versus Vine stars watching videos about them. I think it's way more likely they'll see that and absorb the criticism and change. And that's like kind of the last ditch effort to be like, yo, fucking knock this shit off. Because this is way out of line with society's standards.